What's up, everybody? Farah Hanoun here, aka UFC News Alerts, and welcome to the fourth edition of the UFC News Alerts Q&A. I am here to answer all your questions, so let's get to it. First question, DC has 2 fights left, maybe 3. Does he win against Stipe, and after that, do you think he fights Jones, Rockhold, Brock? What's left for DC? Should DC beat Stipe, definitely doesn't fight Rockhold. That's his teammate. That's his brother, so definitely won't fight Luke Rockhold. I know DC would love to fight Brock Lesnar. For the obvious reasons. Brock's a massive name, one of the biggest pay-per-view draws in the history of the UFC, and DC's a big pro wrestling guy. If you ask DC, do you want to fight one of the most recognizable names, make as much money as you could possibly make, plus get to engage in a WWE style build up to a fight, I think that's a dream fight for DC. I 100 remember how his face lit up when Dana mentioned the possibility of Brock returning and DC fighting him. It was like a meme. His face just lit up and his mouth just was wide open. So for sure DC would take the Brock fight if he beat Stipe and that opportunity was presented for him. In regards to Jon Jones, Jon Jones is a guy that DC, it's one of the biggest rivalries the UFC's ever had. And even though, Jones failed a drug test after the second fight, a lot of people feel like it's tainted supplement. There's a lot of issues going on with Jon Jones. Some people believe he's been cheating. Others believe in him and believe that it is a tainted supplement and all that. But regardless, I believe that if DC could fight Jones one more time before he retires, he would. So I think DC at this point in his career will only take fights that really kind of get his juices flowing, like really get him excited. And Brock and Jon Jones are two of those guys that would definitely do that. Jones, because of the obvious history. Jones is, well, actually, he's 1-0 against him since the second fight was overturned. But he wants that. If there's anything he'd want before he retires, is to have a W over Jon Jones. He doesn't need to beat Jones for his legacy, but this is an opinionated thing, and people will argue otherwise. But I think for DC, he may say that he may not want it, or not care. But it depends in the moment. If he beats Stipe, confidence will be at an all-time high. And in this sport, it's all about timing. So if the Jon Jones fight presents itself, timing-wise, just one more fight before he retires, I wouldn't be surprised if he went after it. So I say the 2 fights that DC would go for should he beat Stipe would be Jones and Brock Lesnar. All right, next question. Where do you expect Sage Northcutt to be in 5 years? It depends. He's a talented kid. He's a super athletic kid. He's training at Team Alpha Male right now, which is a great gym for him to kind of sharpen his tools and work on his ground game. Obviously Alpha Male have extremely talented wrestlers in their camp and extremely well-rounded fighters, more importantly. They've got guys that can mix it up and do it all. They've got former champions. It's one of the best gyms in the world, so it is a good place and a good environment for him to be in. Where will he be in 5 years? Honestly, it depends if he rises to the occasion. I know the UFC tried to push him a little bit, and he had multiple setbacks, but he's a young kid, and it'll be up to him, really, how far he goes, but he's rumored to be fighting Zach Otto. I'm not sure why that fight hasn't been made official. I've heard about it a long time ago, but it was never made official, so I don't know if it's not happening anymore or what's going on. But that's strange matchmaking, in my opinion. I don't know. I just didn't expect them to go that direction. Or it's just not a fight that would have even crossed my mind if I was a matchmaker. At 170, that fight with Zach Otto, we'll see if that's the fight that they'd actually give Sage Northcutt. But yeah, he's a talented kid. Will he be a world champion fighter? Things change, honestly. we see some guys that start out their UFC career pretty quiet, and then all of a sudden in 1 year, everything changes. So I think a lot of the sport is mental, and he is at the right gym. I think he can make vast improvements at Team Alpha Male. But for now, like you said, your question is where do I expect him to be in 5 years? 5 years is a long time. Some people change their career in a year or less even. So he's super young and he has all the time in the world, but obviously if he wants to be, he's athletic enough and he has the tools with a striking background and he's at the right gym. So the potential is there. Whether he lives up to it or not, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. All right. When do you think there will come a time where the higher-ups in the UFC would fire or release Dana? Never. I really don't think. I think Dana would never be fired. I think he knows the sport inside out. He really does. And the promotion aspect of it as well. Dana has it. He gets it. He understands it. I know he could be super harsh at times and give opportunities to people that we feel like may not deserve or may not be deserved, and not give opportunities to people who do deserve it, make people skip lines. Then you get people who are 10-fight win streaks and don't get big fights, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, Dana's a businessman and he's always looking to kind of go for the biggest fights he could possibly get. And when he sees potential in guys like Conor McGregor and now Darren Till, he seems to be really high on Darren Till. When he sees a confident, young, talented guy, he tries to push him. And then when he sees guys like Brock Lesnar crossing over from WWE, CM Punk, he'll give them the platform. That's what he does. If they succeed, then that's great. Everybody wins. The fighter wins, the fans win, the promotion wins. If they don't live up to the expectations, then that's out of Dana and the UFC's control. So what he does is give them the platform. Whether they use that platform and skyrocket like Conor McGregor did, or whether they do not, obviously that comes down to the fighters because they're the ones who get in there in the cage. But I think Dana, he's got a lot of personality as well, and he's a very recognizable guy. So I don't think it would ever be a smart idea for the UFC or the higher ups to let him go. And I don't believe that they would ever do it because he really understands the game and he really understands how to push fighters and the fighters that he sees a lot of potential in. How big of a mistake was it for Dana to release Yair? Of course, you asked that question before. Clearly, things have changed, and I did think it was a mistake for him to release Yair. Of course, I mean, young, talented, very exciting, flashy style. Being Mexican, he'll have the whole Latin American market behind him. And when you build a star like Yair and he gets to the upper echelon, I mean, that's what they try to do when they match him up against Frankie Edgar. If he beat Frankie, then we would have been talking about potential title shot. And to have a Latin American star, of course, would have been huge for the UFC. But yeah, it was a mistake. I think Dana kind of reacted out of emotion. And it seems like they're trying to patch things up. And it seems like, Yair said the fight with Zabi is back on for UFC 228 in September. Dana's going to sit down with Yair in these coming days. So I don't know if it's contractual discussions or what it is. But obviously I'm glad to see him back. Yair is not the kind of fighter you want to lose from your promotion. Definitely not. He's the kind of fighter that a lot of people tune in to watch. And he's a nice kid and he's got a great fighting style, and like I said, brings the whole of kind of Latin America with him. When will Cain Velasquez return to the octagon? I'm not sure. I mean, Cain's been out for a while. He's been plagued with injuries his whole career, but man, I'd say maybe end of 2018 would be the earliest, I'd say, for Cain. Okay, that was another Yair question. All right, this by Victor is a 8-part question. Damn. All right, let's see if I can get through some of these. What's your take on the UFC getting rid of Tough and moving on to Dana White's Contender Series or Dana's Contender Series? Uh, I don't know. I like Tough. I'm one of the very few people that I think that likes The Ultimate Fighter. I like it. We've had so many phenomenal fighters come out of The Ultimate Fighter. And what I like about The Ultimate Fighter is that you get to connect and become a fan of these fighters, not only for their fighting styles, but you get to connect with their story. And I think that's really important because in MMA, when you look at it compared to other sports, sometimes fighters aren't as popular as they should be. You get a couple of fighters that really transcend the sport. Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, um, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre a little bit, but Ronda and then Conor more. Brock obviously came from WWE. But the thing I liked about Tough is that they really talk to you about their story. You get to see a little bit about their past. You get to see their behavior in the house. I mean, I remember watching Robert Whittaker on The Ultimate Fighter Smashes, and I was a huge fan right away. I think he was 21, and most 21-year-old kids were like getting drunk in the Tough house and kind of making a fool out of themselves and getting into fights and blah blah. And Whittaker was one of those guys who was so mature. And like it's crazy how mature he was at the time of the show, and he came in, knockout power, very exciting fighter. I became a huge fan of his, and a lot of it was because I got to see his behavior in the house and how composed he was and how he carried himself. So that's what I like about The Ultimate Fighter is that you get to see that side of the fighters and a bit about their personal life as well, and it makes people connect to them more. So I would have kept both, but I guess they're not getting the ratings they want to get. Maybe they should have considered at least changing the format a little bit, and then if it fails, then cancel it. But it's not 100% canceled, but it looks like it will be. Dana White, Dana White's Contender Series is basically The Ultimate Fighter without the house. So fights. But I believe for fans that don't know, or excuse me, people that don't know much about the sport, The Ultimate Fighter is nice because you get to see other stuff other than the fights. I believe Dana White's Contender Series is you gotta understand the sport. Like you're not gonna enjoy that show if you don't know anything about MMA. And if you're not interested in the prospects, or if you haven't heard about this guy because he trains with that guy and or used to be in that organization or did this or did that. But with The Ultimate Fighter, I felt like it could have appealed more to non-MMA fans and maybe make them MMA fans, because we've seen a lot of phenomenal fighters come out. I mean, if you go way back from season 1, you got Diego Sanchez and Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner and Kenny Florian and Chris Lieben was on that season. And then probably missing a couple. And then you got season 2 with Rashad Evans, Joe Stevenson. You got season 3 with Michael Bisping. The list goes on and on. Season 5 with Nate Diaz. Just the comeback season with Matt Serra, of course. And then Matt Brown was on season 7. Season 8, Ryan Bader, who's now in Bellator, but Ryan Bader. The list just goes on and on. TJ Dillashaw, Tony Ferguson. Like, these are guys that went on to become champions. So, I don't know how people... Rose Namajunas. I don't know how people can not like Tough. And for me, Tough, I use Tough as an example where we saw the strawweight division. I loved how they introduced the strawweight division through The Ultimate Fighter. They did that with the flyweight division as well. So, I don't know. I feel like it educates you a little bit. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. Second question from Victor's list. Do you think replacing 3 5-minute rounds with 2 10-minute rounds would be beneficial to the sport, as it could possibly generate more finishes? Do you think replacing 3 5-minute rounds with 2 10-minute... No, just for one reason. People might not have the cardio to go 10 minutes in one round. I think if we go with 2 10-minute rounds, we'll see a lot more sloppy fights, and you'd have to change your approach completely. Because if you have to go 10 minutes in the first round, I feel like we're going to see a lot of slower action, a lot of people being tentative, and if they were to push the pace, they'd probably gas out and would see just a kind of like a sloppy all over the place fight. So 2 10-minute rounds, like fighters would have to completely change their strategy because that's basically double the time that they're used to. So probably not. Should the UFC try putting together an all-female UFC card to test it out and see how well it does on its own? They could, but I just don't think they ever would. They have girls that can headline that card easy, with Rose and Ioana and Cyborg, Amanda Nunes. Like, these people have headlined normal cards on their own, but I just don't see them doing that. They'd probably be afraid of the numbers, is what I guess. Should the UFC bump each weight division up by 5 pounds instead of making new weight classes, or should new weight classes be added? I do believe a 190 to 195 division should be incorporated, as well as 215, 220. Yeah, to close the gaps. I agree. They definitely need to add more weight classes because 185 to 205 is a massive jump. Huge. I mean, I was talking about it when I was previewing UFC 225. Talking about Rashad Evans, like, I always felt like he could fight at middleweight because he was a little small for light heavyweight, but not at this point in his career, being 38 years old. He cut down to middleweight. That's a huge difference between middleweight and light heavyweight. And then you've got, I think they need to add 165. 165 seems to be the division that would help out so many people because you have a lot of guys that struggle to make 155 and then maybe a little too small for 170. So I feel like 165 is an important one as well. Maybe 175 as well. So yeah, I mean, we see in boxing there's like what, a 3 pound difference? Maybe not to that extent, but I'd go with 10-pound differences. But then would too many divisions be an issue? Maybe, I don't know. But we are seeing a lot of people in this weight, and I think they at least they should start out with one, like not throw all these new divisions at once, but maybe slowly add them. So slowly put in start out with a 165, see how that goes, and then maybe slowly and eventually add other weight classes. That's what I believe. All right. Which question should we go to? Have you lost respect for Ioana after being unable to own up to her losses to Rose? I wouldn't say I lost respect for her. I mean, she's super confident. It's not my style, the way she goes about herself, but that's her thing. And she became one of the biggest names in women's MMA because of the way she carries herself. People like confident fighters. They gravitate towards confident athletes, and Ioana is just very confident. I think it's not a matter of what I think or what we think. For her, owning up to the loss may be the only way she'll grow. Maybe not. It depends on the person. For some people, that mentality of, I am the greatest, I am better than this person, even though I've lost a couple of times, that pushes people sometimes. But then at the same time, it could limit you because it won't let you improve. But I can't answer that for Ioana. I can't say that it would be limiting her. She could be seeing one thing and doing something else at the gym. We don't know. But yeah, I mean, it was a close fight the second time round against Rose. But at the end of the day, Rose is up 2-0 on her, and it'll be a little hard for Ioana to get a third crack at Rose, but we'll see. All right, what's next for Darren Till? What do you think the match with Wonderboy actually scored? Oh, what's my opinion, I believe is what you mean. The first time round, when I watched it live, I thought Wonderboy had it. It wasn't so obvious to me. Like, I wasn't like robbery or anything like that. I knew when Darren Till knocked Wonderboy down in the 5th round, they were going to give it to him. So when I was waiting for the judges to render their decision and Buffer was going to announce the winner, or was it Joe Martinez, I knew that he was going to say Darren Till. Just because fights that are this close, maybe because it's in his hometown, but fights that are this close with barely anything significant happening, you're always going to latch on to the most significant thing that happened in the fight. And that was Darren Till's knockdown of Wonderboy in the 5th round. While watching the fight, I did believe that Wonderboy landed a lot of cleaner, solid shots, but then statistics say otherwise. Statistics actually say that Darren Till outlanded Wonderboy. So statistically, if he outlanded Wonderboy and knocked him down in the 5th round, then I could see why they go with Darren Till. But then again, you don't score a fight by an overall picture. You score it round by round. And round by round, I felt like Wonderboy won. But I'm not mad with them giving the fight to Darren Till because I just felt like barely anything happened in the fight. And I don't know what the judges are looking at. Are they really breaking it down round by round? I mean, of course they have to, right? Because that's what it says on the scorecard. But I feel some of them just kind of jot whatever numbers based on, because in an overall picture, I could see why they give it to Darren Till. But then if you look at it round by round, I had Wonderboy 48-47, but I'm not outraged by anything. I just felt like not much happened in the fight. It was a chess match. You had two super technical strikers that really respected each other's abilities. That's what it came down to. So I'm not mad that Darren Till got the win. I'm okay with that. I mean, he was humble in victory. He said, give the title shot to Wonderboy. I like Darren Till a lot. I'm a big fan of his, and I like his approach. And he's a good balance of like humble and confident at the same time. He is super confident, but he is quite humble as well. He did say give Wonderboy the title shot. He said, I don't deserve the title shot. I liked what he said after. But now that we have an interim title fight going on this weekend with RDA and Colby, that should be the next guy to get the crack. And I do Till and Usman, I think. Rankings-wise, that's what makes sense next. A lot of people said Till and Robbie Lawler, but Robbie's not going to be back for a while. At least until the beginning of next year. And plus, I feel with Robbie, because he's getting older and he's taking too much damage, I don't think that's the right fight for Till, because Till isn't at the stage of making a name for himself. He's already done that when he beat Cowboy, and now he beat Wonderboy. Everyone knows who Darren Till is right now, so he's not at that point in his career where you need to give him a name like Robbie. I feel like if he beats Robbie, a lot of people are just going to be like, Robbie's gotten older, taken too much damage. I don't think it'll do Till that much in terms of moving forward and people respecting him and thinking that he should be the next contender. A guy like Usman, who's surging in the division, who's young and talented and has looked great and dominated pretty much most rounds or every round of every fight that he's fought in the UFC. And he's a super strong wrestler. That's the kind of challenge that if Till can overcome that, I think he'll answer a ton of questions, because the Wonderboy fight was for Till to prove that he's the best striker in the division. For some people, he proved that. For others, he didn't. But at the end of the day, I feel like that 5th round knockdown did him a lot, because Wonderboy is very elusive. He's very hard to hit, and we saw the way Woodley fought Wonderboy in the 2 fights as well. He's a tricky puzzle to solve. So maybe that wasn't the greatest performance in the world by Darren Till, but it was an important one because he showed skill and maturity, and he was composed, and he showed that he could go 5 solid rounds with Wonderboy, and he didn't take any damage from Wonderboy. Wonderboy didn't do anything crazy or significant, so it showed a lot. If you want to be negative, you can say he looked horribly against Wonderboy, blah, blah, blah. But in a positive sense, I feel like he showed a lot of composure and maturity and showed that he could hang in the highest level, and that was important. Now I believe it's time, I guess, for him to show that he can handle a grappler. And rankings-wise and who's available and whatnot, because I would have liked to see him fight RDA if RDA was available, but he's not. He's fighting Colby, of course, so I say put him against Usman. There we have it. All right, in the heavyweight division, if Lewis and Curtis Blades both win, who should be next in line for the title? Lewis, Blades, or Volkov? You know what? I think it'll depend on who the UFC want to push. Volkov, obviously he's got a great win over Verdum, no doubt. Verdum's a legend, and a win over him is always important. Volkov said he's going to go to the Stipe DC fight and be there in case somebody gets injured. So that should, or has to pull out. So that'll be interesting. I like that idea. I would love for every event to have somebody as backup. But I believe Curtis Blades is doing really well in the division. He just beat Mark Hunt. If he beats Alistair Overeem, I think you can match Volkov with either. If Curtis Blades beats Overeem, you can match him up with Volkov. Because it depends, timeline wise and all that. So maybe you can do one more fight before. If not, then give Volkov to Struve because he's long. He's tall and long. It's an interesting challenge for. I know. I mean, last time the Stipe got knocked out with Stefan Struve, it was a long time ago. I get that, but the idea is that Volkov is a tall, rangy striker, so could present an interesting challenge. I don't know. I mean, I would give Stipe the edge, but I'm just saying. But I guess it depends timeline wise. Who would be next? What do you think about the light heavyweight division? How do you see the fights? How do you see this play out after UFC 226 with some light heavyweight fights in Hamburg? Yeah, I like the matchmaking they did for Hamburg. I mean, Volkan fought DC already, and it's pretty dominant win for DC, so it's going to be a while for Volkan to climb back. Latifi's new, like he's new in terms of never fighting DC before. So, but I don't know. I get the feel that if DC loses, retirement might be in the horizon. And if he wins, he's just going to look for a big fight. I feel like DC at this point in his career only wants big fights. And no disrespect to Latifi or Volkan or any of those guys, but I just feel that DC at this point only wants really big fights. I don't know, that's just me. And I don't think these guys will cut it for him. I feel like he's already done that. He feels like he's already done that. You got Alexander Gustafsson looming as well. He was supposed to fight Rockhold, but Rockhold got injured. So maybe that division will kind of have fresh faces and new stuff going on if DC steps away from it. So we'll see. Do you think they will set a definitive rule for how long a division champ can hold his or her belt without defending to avoid holdups? What would be your ideal time frame? 12 months. Yeah, I like that idea. I think they should. Just because a lot of fighters, it depends on who you are, of course, right? A lot of fighters get more leniency to do what they want, aka Conor McGregor, of course. But yeah, I think there should be a rule because then you're going to get a lot of people saying, well, you let this guy sit out for that long. How about it's not fair this guy did that? How come this guy held it up for even longer? Blah, blah, blah. So I think a year is a good time frame. Yeah, I think a year is a good time frame. I'm not opposing that. Do you think Conor versus Khabib will happen soon? Yes, I mean, that is the fight they want. But there's going to be tons of negotiation process going on. Because with Conor McGregor, he's got a score date very soon on the 14th. But at the same time, that Conor is going to want a lot more money since he last fought, which was Floyd Mayweather. So if the UFC can get a deal with him quick, the Khabib fight is definitely what they want to do. Khabib wants it. Conor wants it. The UFC wants it. Maybe we get it in December. Yeah, 6 months. Maybe. Yeah, December in Vegas. That would be great. GSP said he won't fight at age 40 and he is 37. Will he fight again? And if so, who? He also said it would have to be something great like the 155 title. Is that really a possibility? I mean, GSP is quite a small 170 pounder, but the idea is, does he want to go through that weight cut at this age? I don't know, but for GSP, he has nothing left to prove. He only wants to come back for big fights and money fights, and I believe he came back to fight Bisping because he felt like that was a fight he could win. I genuinely believe that, and I guess a lot of people believe that. I don't think he even cared about middleweight. He would have never done it if it was Romero or Whitaker or one of those bigger guys. I mean, Whitaker's not that big, but he just felt like he could beat Bisping. But and plus Bisping talks a lot of trash. It was a fight that they could make a headliner because Bisping was going to build it up with his trash talk in the press conferences and all that. But yeah, I mean, if you ever you never know with Conor McGregor. What if Conor McGregor goes up to 170 and becomes champion there? I mean, Conor can kind of do what he wants right now. He can skip the line and he doesn't have to climb his way to anything. What if RDA beats Colby and then beats Woodley and then Conor fights RDA? Like, you never know what can happen. And then all of a sudden GSP tells you, right, I want to fight Conor. Because then you're going to have two guys. You'll have a guy who isn't even really a 170 pounder and a fight in Conor McGregor that he could make more money than he's ever made probably. So I think weight class, he mentioned 155 probably because that's where Conor and Khabib, those are where the biggest fights are for him. So he has nothing left to prove. I don't think this is something that he keeps thinking about right before he sleeps or anything like that. It's all about time and opportunity. And with Michael Bisping, timing-wise, everything fell into place for GSP. And he came back and he won that fight. So getting 3 belts and 3 different divisions, that's also interesting for him. But we'll see. But I just think it'll be a tough weight cut for him to go through. He kind of walks around 170 though, doesn't he? He doesn't really cut much weight. Not 170, maybe heavier, so excuse me. But like he doesn't cut much weight. But I'm just concerned at this point in his career. We saw what gaining weight, which he probably didn't do in the best way, but gaining weight really harmed him. So we'll see. How do you feel in regards to legends still competing in MMA? Definitely don't like it. You know, you get guys who are coming off of 4 straight knockout losses. They're 40 years old. They just go to another organization. I get it. They want to make money. They've got the name value. They know other organization will sign them. But I don't enjoy those fights. I really don't. I end up like kind of watching them worried that they'll get hurt or knocked out. So I'm not a fan of it. But with these fighters, you can never tell them when to quit. They're always going to fight as long as they feel like they can fight, even if everybody's telling them not to. So, yep. Who do you think Gus should fight now that Rock holds out? I don't know. If Volkan beats Shogun, I'd do him and Volkan. Yeah, that's what I'd do. Do the UFC plan a second title fight for UFC 227? I definitely think they will. Demetrius Johnson has expressed interest in fighting at 227. Tyron Woodley says he wants on 227, but I definitely think the UFC are going to go for another one. And looking at the available champions, it is those two. So it probably would be 227 August. That might be too quick of a turnaround for the winner of Colby and RDA. If Colby wins, I think he's crazy enough to fight the week after. He's been wanting Woodley for so long. He wants to fight him so badly. So if Colby Covington wins and he comes out quite unscathed, I mean, the usual bumps and bruises, but nothing serious, I feel like he'd be ready to get that turnaround and fight in August. RDA, maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't want to turn around so quick. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for RDA, but I just feel that it's got to be the winner of that. Do the UFC go crazy and throw Darren Till in there with Woodley and jump over the interim champion? You never know. Honestly, you never know with the UFC. I mean, I don't think Darren Till took any damage in the Wonder Boy fight. I don't know if he was coming in with any lingering injuries. But with Darren Till, he didn't make 170. How do you make him fight for the title when you're not even sure he makes 170? I know he had a family problem, but the idea is he struggled with his weight cut. And I don't often see... I said this in I can't remember one of the live videos I did before, but I said that I genuinely believed that if Darren Till beat Wonder Boy, he was going to be next, no matter who wins, Colby or RDA. I genuinely believe that because the reason they put that Wonder Boy fight is because they want Till to be the face of that division. They believe he could be one of the biggest stars in the sport, in the organization. But I feel him missing weight, not because he went to a decision with Wonder Boy and the fight wasn't that eventful. That doesn't matter. Because he didn't make weight, I feel like they're not going to be too thrilled with that because they're not going to be sure if they could try. I feel like they need him to fight one more time to prove he can make 170 without all the issues and drama we usually get at fight week. But now that he didn't make weight, maybe they'll just stick to the winner of RDA and Colby. But I genuinely believe that they could have skipped over that, especially if RDA won. No disrespect to RDA, But I just believe because Tyron's been talking about wanting a big fight and a big name, and because the UFC are hyping Darren Till up so much, that could have interest Woodley. Colby, obviously, is making some noise, very controversial and all that, but I don't know. I don't know if RDA beats Colby. I don't know if he gets Woodley excited. But then at the end of the day, like, Woodley's already been out for a while. He hasn't fought since July. What card was that? Last summer, 214 in UFC 214. He hasn't fought since then. So if RDA wins and they want to set that fight up, he's got to take it. I believe he can't turn that down. I highly doubt it, but we'll see. UFC 228. No news about it, obviously, other than the rumored Yair Rodriguez and Zabit. Where is it going to be? I don't know. It can be Vegas because 227 is in Vegas. No, excuse me. 227 is in LA. 229 is in Vegas. So 228. There were a couple of names thrown. I can't remember the top of my head right now, but they haven't finalized where it's going to be. That's another weight class question. Who do you think will win? Latifi Teixeira. Teixeira is another guy that hasn't fought DC before. But I don't know. I don't usually give predictions of who's going to win, but it's a good fight. I like the fight, and I think matchmaking and rankings wise, it makes good sense. It's a good opportunity for Latifi because he's kind of a fresh face. He's not going to fight Gus, that's his teammate and like his brother, but kind of put him in the top of the rankings, and we'll see. I don't know. Honestly, it depends on what goes on with DC and what he wants to do, but I just believe that none of these fights in the division interest DC. I really genuinely don't. If he wins the heavyweight title, does he let go of the light heavyweight? If he loses, does he retire? If he loses, he could go for the Gus rematch because Gus is the biggest name in the division. I don't know, but I just don't see. DC just kind of wants the biggest fights possible, but it'll depend if he wins or not, and I feel like it'll clarify a lot in the light heavyweight division. All right, one more I will get to. Let's play devil's advocate and say CM Punk beats Mike Jackson and does very well on Saturday. Should he then continue his MMA career? And if so, who do you want him to fight next at 170? Right, so CM Punk beats Mike Jackson and does very well on Saturday. You know what? Yeah, why not? I mean, why win and not continue? I mean, a lot of his teammates have said he's put in the work in the gym and he's been improving. Do they have to say that because they're his teammates? I don't know, but you know, he trains with some really good guys at Rufus Sport, the Pettis brothers and Bilal Muhammad, and there are solid guys at Rufus Sport, Paul Felder, but man, I definitely wouldn't give him somebody on the UFC roster. I think they should find him somebody. A lot of people suggested that he fights Aaron Chalmers, who's signed with Bellator. He's the guy that used to be part of that Geordie Shore, which is the Jersey Shore of the UK. He's obviously got a big name because he's coming from that show, and he's expressed interest in fighting CM Punk before just because they're two big names. But at the end of the day, I feel like Aaron is further in his MMA career than CM Punk is, and his CM Punk's fight this Saturday is going to tell a lot. Hopefully we get to see, I'm really hoping we get to see at least 10 minutes of action, because then you could really break down what you see. I don't want it to be a quick finish for anybody, really. I want to see at least 7-10 minutes of action, and if Punk wins, I wouldn't be opposed, and if Punk wins and looks decent, I wouldn't be against them bringing Aaron Chalmers from Bellator, although he's signed with Bellator, but we never know how these things are behind the scenes. But if they would bring Aaron Chalmers to fight CM Punk, I wouldn't be opposed to that because he's got a big name and he's also super raw and early in his MMA career. But Otherwise, if Punk wins and looks decent, give him somebody that isn't on the UFC roster. I mean, don't push him too much. Uh, you want him to be a draw. You want him to progress. I mean, he's got basically zero experience. So you got to give him somebody who's in a similar situation, kind of took up MMA late, and Aaron Chalmers is a good idea. Although like I said, of course, he's a lot further in his MMA career than, not in his MMA career only, but I mean what he's shown in the cage than CM Punk. CM Punk, we haven't seen anything, so of course it depends on what we see from CM Punk this Saturday. Does he look like a decent fighter? Does he look like he can strike and wrestle a bit and grapple a bit? Does he look like he can actually compete in the octagon or in any MMA cage? Then I wouldn't be opposed to them bringing Aaron Chalmers because he has the name as well. And then they could definitely throw that on pay-per-view because that's what they do with CM Punk anyway. All right. There we have it. I hope I got to the majority of your questions. Thank you once again for posting these questions. I appreciate you guys sending those questions. I'll try to get these done once a week or something like that. Check out my UFC 225 preview and breakdown. I just uploaded that short while ago, but or it won't be a short while ago depending on when you watch this, but I uploaded it. It's on there. It's on my channel. I break down basically every single fight on the card, and that's something I hope to do further down, at least for the big cards for now. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.